kind of that big picture. International markets, one of the first ones at the lineup of the discussion.
Welcome to the iHemp Hour. My name is Dave Craybill with iHemp Michigan. iHemp Michigan's mission is to educate, inform, and promote the research, development, and cultivation of industrial hemp here in Michigan. iHemp Michigan advocates for wellness in people and the planet through hemp, and it begins with the farmer. Please support our advocacy and join iHemp Michigan. You can find that information on ihempmichigan.com. We're joined today with a special guest, but Russell, we're going to do a little bit of news first, and then we'll get to you. Mike Brennan, do you have some news from the 420 Post?
I do a little bit. Yesterday, we had our legal webinar for the cannabis crowd and had about 20 folks attend. Scott Roberts was the leader of that. Normally, it's a $300 an hour guy, but he did the webinar for free. And the hot topics, of course, were various aspects of licensing, how to acquire the real estate, other things involving MRA. Went over quite well. And the on-demand version is at mimarijuanareport.com. So free for anybody that, it's about a little over an hour long. But if you have legal questions pertaining to whether you want to get involved in the cannabis space, Scott provides a lot of the answers, and if not, then we can connect you to Scott and you can go a little further. The other thing I want to mention is tomorrow, and I know everybody, Dave and Blaine are going to be there on the west side of the state. Jamie Cooper from Sensi Connects, Sensi Magazine, is having her big golf outing tomorrow at Pigeon Creek, and that's in West Olive, right, Blaine?
Correct. Real close to home there. So
yep.
An event that's close to me. I love it.
Yeah. So there's going to be about 40 teams, various sponsors, including us, MI Marijuana Report, and the Hero Project, which we're going to be launching officially tomorrow. We'll be there in person, and I'm bringing my video gear to shoot interviews. Because otherwise, when they start golfing from 1 to 5, it's kind of, what are we going to do here now? Right. So I'll shoot some videos and probably consume a couple Bloody Marys, whatnot, because it's the start of the summer vacation and we're all looking forward to that. Yes. And then she has a really big after party at 6:00 at the Holiday Inn at Silver Lake, which is a stone's throw away. So, and like I say, after 14 months of lockdown, I live alone. So the only time I talk to people is like this in a virtual setting, and I am ready to go right now. So I'm hanging out in West Michigan for the weekend and boat it and have some fun, and let's get summer started, right?
Yeah, that's beautiful. Blaine, you have anything you want to touch on in the front?
Yeah, we've got a little bit of things, and we'll talk about some things in the end too. One of the big things I want to bring up is, again, we want everybody to understand that iHemp Michigan is more than just our pretty faces on this podcast that we do. We do a lot of stuff behind the scenes, and right now we've been working on a bill here in Michigan that's been introduced in the State House, and it's a substitute bill designed to clarify protection for consumable hemp products, while also regulating products with intoxicating levels of total THC as part of the Michigan marijuana program. Under the bill, the total THC includes THC-A, Delta-8, Delta-9, Delta-10, and a structural, optical, or geometric isomer of a THC. The roundtable has been helping us with this situation, and they're actively working to ensure that the bill, which is our HB 4517, becomes law. Michigan supporters are encouraged to use the State Action Center to urge state legislators to support the bill, and we could all use your help with that. So that's just one of the many things we're working on. I want you to know that we're not only here for the farmers, we're also here for the retailers and the manufacturers as well. So we're look for support on that. Also, been a little bit of something in the SB 1778 bill. That's on the federal side. Needs an amendment of its own, according to Hemp Roundtable. The bill is intended to prohibit consumable hemp products that contains intoxicating levels of THC total THC or synthetic THC. The problem is that total THC is defined to include all isomers of THC, such as CBD. And they're working with the legislative staff and have sent bills to author a letter urging an amendment that cracks down on intoxicating CBD, but does not implicate the non-intoxicating products like CBD. So some big things there. Also remember that this year with the new law that we have enacted now and what we're all growing under, you need to certify your acres at the FSA office. Was able to help a member last week get through that process. It's pretty simple, but good government work, there's always a bunch of paperwork there. So if you haven't started that process, and if you planted already, some people maybe haven't planted yet, but make sure you contact your office. I would get all this paperwork set up ahead of time. They'll give you a really cool map of whatever farm you're farming on. You can complete that map, send it back to them, and then they'll be able to get your certification completed. Pretty simple, but takes a little bit of, you got to prove who you are. You got to prove where you're renting. If you're renting the farm, you got to have a lease signed by that person. So just a few little things you got to do. It doesn't take a long time, but let's get it done before they get really busy with their normal certification for what farmers do there too. So also the CFAP program is ending very soon. So if you grew in 2020, then you're eligible for some assistance under that program, and you can talk to the office when you call them on what they're going to need for that. So the rest of it, Dave, I think we'll save to the end of the show because I think we want to get right into Russell. And Mike, did you mention what you're going to have on next week on the show? On your
I'm going to kind of wing it. When I go to the golf outing tomorrow, I'm going to pick up a lot of news. We always try to make that show as topical and as we can. And so whatever's hot, and I'll get a good feel for that tomorrow. I've got some ideas, but we don't have everything concrete yet.
Right. We'll talk more about this at the end of the show, but I do want to plug this right now. June 25th, that's Friday, we're having our next hemp working event, hemp working. It's going to be in Holland, Michigan, 7:00 at the Crazy Horse Saloon. So that's going to happen. And then Saturday, the 26th, we're going to have a hempcrete workshop at the Critter Farm. And that's going to be a real fun project for a lot of the kids to come out. We're going to make some hemp stuff, and they're going to do some tiles that they're going to be putting into the new barn that they're making out there. So a great fun weekend, really kid oriented on that for sure. So again, our hemp networking part of that will be on Friday night at the Crazy Horse Saloon, the 25th of June, 7 p.m. All right, Dave, back to you.
All right. Well, I'm excited to introduce Russell Laird. Russell is the executive director of the Hemp Leaders Coalition. He's a seasoned executive with broad experience in government relations, public and corporate affairs, and business management. He has a proven track record of achieving results over 25 years plus of challenging environments. There's nothing like the hemp industry to have a challenging environment, is it, Russell? And I have to start out, Russell, how do you get a gig working in the Virgin Island for months?
Well, there you go. I was going to say you're muted there. So
I got the button. Thank you for reminding me there, though. So where do we start? Okay, so fun stuff, Virgin Islands. Well, it wasn't all fun and games. You get in a gig there because a big hurricane came, and so folks needed help. And so we weren't working 24/7. We did have a little time to enjoy the place, and since then I brought my family back a couple of times. So I did definitely enjoy it, but it was not simple work. I mean, we're dealing with people who lost their homes, and it was a temporary deployment with SBA, Small Business Administration, helping to get the word out about their disaster loan program. So that was again just a couple of months there. Spent a little time in Savannah before it took off the Virgin Islands, and there was some damage there. But what was that, 3 years ago? I guess the big hurricanes.
Yeah, so I was looking on your bio. You have an extensive, you've been in government quite a while, doing a lot of interesting work, it sounds like.
Well, I tell people, sometimes people see the haircut and wonder if I'm military, and I don't pretend to be because my dad and uncles and brother-in-law spent a couple of years in Iraq. But when my wife cuts my hair at home, cuts it a little tight, and you don't see the gray hairs, but it's been a while since I've had a haircut, so you might see some. And maybe not as much as you, but I do have a little bit of gray hairs, Dave.
I gave up that.
Yeah, if Dave cut his gray hair, it'd be bald. So
yeah. So I can cut it tight and you'll see. But point being, I do have a couple of gray hairs, so have some experience and learned. We all learn things. Maybe I don't know. I mean, I learned things the hard way, and if all of us do. but definitely have some battle scars and some things that I've learned, by experience. And I haven't been here in Washington my whole career, and that's something else I'm kind of glad to have as part of my career. Is I didn't spend all of my time here. I did escape for a little while. I mean, if you might hear an accent, I hadn't completely lost accent, being from Texas, and did come up to DC right after college and spend quite a bit of time. But then, out of DC for about 4 years, working in the cotton industry. So working in business. So have a lot of experience with DC and kind of knowing how things work or don't work too often, but have some practical experience in business as well. I'm glad to add that to it, to have that, real practical perspective of knowing that all this DC stuff is just fun and games to a lot of lobbyists, but we need to get it boiled down to really accomplishing something, and just getting a bill moved forward and, through the process a little bit is good. That's all part of the process, but you really got to be looking for that end game. And that business experience that I, have, I think is really beneficial, to bring to the picture. But, I mentioned a couple times the cotton industry, working in hemp the last couple of years. It has been interesting to have that perspective of the cotton industry and some similarities there. I mean, my first job was in a cotton field, hoeing cotton, which some people say chopping cotton. You got to explain, you're not chopping the cotton, you're chopping the weeds. We say hoeing cotton. But, do have that kind of a background that I bring to this industry, and think that it can be helpful, and hope it can be helpful to really accomplish some things and moving this industry forward.
So what brought you into the hemp industry? What's your hemp story?
Well, it's kind of one of those things of kind of how things line up, a good opportunity. When the 2018 Farm Bill passed, I was very aware that hemp was legalized. Wasn't right in the middle of it, honestly. But, just rewinding a little bit and not going too deep and, spending too much time, but, 1996, and it might date me a little bit again, some gray hairs, that's fine. That was the Farm Bill that almost killed me. So that was the Farm Bill that I was right in the middle of, negotiating the final provisions, for my boss, the member of Congress, but as staff, you do a lot of the, legwork, negotiating things till 2 a.m. with pizza being ordered, in the middle of that. Excuse me. So I was on Capitol Hill, 1992 to 1999, at that time frame. After you have the kind of battle experience, with the Farm Bill, you pay attention to all the rest of it, and, you still have friends that work in it. So whether you're not involved or not, since that time, a few farm bills, I've been more directly involved, actually lobbying a certain provision on it or so forth, but, not as much, again, in the 2018 Farm Bill, not involved directly in hemp, but very well aware of what was going on, paying attention. And after it came through, a lot of us saw an opportunity for a new industry, a lot of interesting work with a new industry, old industry being new again, I guess you'd say. Mm-hmm. But, jumped in and it's been, wild ride, as we'll all can attest to. But sure have enjoyed it again with having the background that I have, in cotton industry, that adds another unique perspective to it. But there's so much to do, and there's been so much progress, from this point the last couple of years. There's been some growing pains, of course, and there still will be a lot more, but definitely interesting work. I half jokingly tell people from time to time, it reminds me the last time that we had a crop that was illegal for decades and then legalized, which that last time was never.
I was going to say, I'm not aware of it.
Wow. No, a little sarcasm there. Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's definitely the wild situation, but what's the Chinese proverb? May you live in interesting times.
Yep, that's the one. Yeah.
Yeah, it's been an interesting couple of years. Add on top of all the challenges with hemp to the challenges of the pandemic, and it's it's been a tough couple of years for a lot of people. So you formed the Hemp Leaders Coalition. What was your motivation to do that?
Well, I've had to jokingly mention a few times the last few months as I've been starting this direction, that I looked out and saw that there was not enough organizations in the hemp industry, so we needed another one. So that usually gets a chuckle.
Uh-huh.
So I'm from the government. I'm here to help, right?
That's another one.
Yeah,
That's another one. Yeah, be careful with that one. Yeah. So I think when you earlier mentioned something, I've been with the government, like, oh, I'm out. I used to work for the government. I don't anymore. I work, with the government, sometimes against the government if need be, try to work with them for sure. So again, looked out and saw, again, the joke is, there's so many organizations out there. It's a competitive space with a lot of noise, and that's okay. I mean, I think still live in a capitalist country. Sometimes you kind of wonder lately, but so everybody competing to do business. Competition is a good thing. So again, there's a lot of organizations out there, and as a try to be a Texas gentleman. Even though I've been in Virginia for quite a while. Texas, never want to be disparaging in business or in politics to anyone else, and just promote what we think we bring to the table. And so again, with a lot of organizations out there, I think I appreciate the introduction earlier, Dave, a little bit about my experience on a personal level. And really having a deep understanding, through those battle scars of how Washington works, doesn't work, but how to do the best you can to get it to work, to move things along. And if you look on our website, hempleaders.org, you'll see that this is not just a one-man show. I'm really grateful to have a good team of a couple other people already involved with me with a great law firm downtown. Steptoe and Johnson is one of the best in DC. I mean, their office is, downtown DC, just a few blocks from the White House. You see on their website, they've got a section, government officials, former government officials, excuse me, former members of Congress, former White House staff, agency staff. They have a lot of business clients that have been pretty involved, in the cannabis space. You'll see, Danny Rubenstein that you're going to hear at our meeting that's coming up, we'll talk more about in a minute. Good experience working in the vape, with the vape industry that he can explain a lot better than I can, of how he saw, FDA not do such a good job there. And so he has a good perspective of what we need to do to kind of try to help push them forward. So again, good team coming together with deep experience in Washington that we think we can really bring a lot to the table to really try to help move the industry forward to eventually get to some real accomplishments for what we need for policy that really makes a difference for business, to move business forward.
Yeah. So you had this event coming up in Florida. Can you tell us some about that? What's on the agenda and who should attend?
Well, and first of all, I was going to mention earlier with this event coming up, my gosh, it's been, 24/7. It seems like lately with the clock ticking, getting everything ready for that. I've done a few interviews in the past. I've actually had some personal things going on with my daughter in the school situation, and I've set up a better atmosphere. I hadn't had time to do anything. So you see my daughter's stuff behind me. I just had to throw the computer. Dave, you were getting nervous when I signed on a minute late. It's been a busy time, so apologize for that. But, better lighting up here actually in the kitchen than my office downstairs. So I moved up here. But you see, great sunny day today. You mentioned the boat earlier. I've got a trader boat right out there that my daughter's my fishing partner on. So it's summertime. And so, why not go, I think, don't try to pretend to be, a medical expert or doctor, but they say vitamin D is good for your immune system. Yeah. Why not go to the Sunshine State? And after what we've all been through the last several months, why not get a little pool and beach time? So I'm not just inviting people to come on vacation with me, obviously, but why not have, if we got to go to somewhere that's, and don't get me wrong. I went to a meeting, I think it's Traverse City a few years ago. That was nice up there in Michigan. You've got some good spots up there for sure on the lake, but we're going to be in Florida. Great place to be, and again, from the perspective of, what we've all been through lately, good to pick a place that has been a little bit more business friendly with some of the restrictions we've had, and things are loosening up, around, a lot of places, but Florida's been a little bit ahead of that curve. So it's going to be a good place to go from that perspective. But again, not just fun and games, nothing wrong with having a little good time, but we have some really good business discussions lined up. And I've got a couple more pieces that are still being added, a couple that have been added the last couple of days, but our agenda that's been publicly on our website available. I'm glad to just go through if you want to spend some time, but top quality speakers. And it's going to be, it's kind of hard to describe, nothing against, obviously we're working in the industry, not the hemp industry, nothing against people in the hemp industry talking to each other and learning from each other. A lot of that needs to happen. And we want a lot of that to happen. One thing we want on the agenda is plenty of time for those conversations to happen. So many meetings, like I mentioned earlier, so many organizations out there, so many meetings going on. But some of the meetings we've seen, they have like so many speakers all day long that you might leave and kind of wish, kind of regret that I didn't really get a chance to have, real conversations with other people there. There's so many good people in the room. We want to definitely allow time for that, good place to allow it, to might occur outside under the sunshine. But again, great business discussions and can go. And again, what point I'm trying to get to though, not so much just for the presentations of the meeting, the speakers of people directly in the hemp industry talking to each other about how to actually do that. That might be some of the more side conversations. Look at some of the agenda. It's kind of more targeted to, we're kind of trying to focus on how to help those people that are already in the hemp industry that have been making some progress, even through those growing pains we've been going through the last couple of years, kind of see how to move it forward. I mean, we're having a chat the other day and it kind of came up with a theme of charting the path forward for the hemp industry. And that's what we're going to focus on this. And again, we can kind of go through, some of those, the lineup of the speakers if we want to individually, but kind of that big picture, international markets, one of the first ones at the lineup of the discussion, but we're looking at other, ways to use hemp and some of the people that are other allied industries that are using hemp and try to get some advice from them for the people directly in the hemp industry. What do we need to get you to do to use our product? So Frisbees is a great thing. We might have some out there to play with on the beach.
Maybe Dave can take care of that for you. I'm not sure, but yeah.
There we go.
This is hemp wood, by the way.
Hemp wood. I mean, there's so many uses. Important I'm getting to. Hey, kind of that big picture. International markets. One of the first ones at the lineup of the discussion. But we're looking at other ways to use hemp and some of the people that are other allied industries that are using hemp and try to get some advice from them for the people directly in the hemp industry. What do we need to get you to do to use our product? So Frisbees is a great thing. We might have some out there to play with on the beach.
Maybe Dave can take care of that for you. I'm not sure, but yeah.
There we go.
This is hemp wood, by the way.
Hemp wood. I mean, there's so many uses. Important I'm getting to. Hey, I love like playing Frisbee on the beach. My daughter's going to come with me. We're going to have a good time. But if you make a Frisbee out of hemp, what else can you make out of it? We're going to have lots of discussions about some of that stuff.
Well, one of the things, I'm not a hemp farmer. I'm the city boy here. And I come at it from the cannabis space. So I have a slightly different point of view, but certainly one of the things that can really help is to raise the THC level limit before the crop is destroyed. And I know Dave and Blaine, who are farmers, have been talking about, okay, so let's say your crop does go above 1%, and instead of destroying it, make hempcrete out of it or something else. Because, the farmer is taking a big risk. I mean, and of course, as you said, the biggest issue from my point of view, from what I've heard from these guys for a year, is typically farmers have a contract before they grow anything. And that's the missing element, I guess, right now in hemp farming, right?
No, it's not the missing element.
Well, it's one of the big missing elements.
Exactly.
Right. Yeah, right.
Yeah, exactly. So. One of a long list of missing elements. Again, back to remind me that last time we legalized the crop, I mean, there's so many things that work there, but that definitely is one of the big ones up there. And, so the discussion, very good questions about, why do we have to destroy hemp that could be used for hempcrete if it's got high THC, put it in concrete, what's going to happen? So many good questions like that. We're going to have a panel discussion on the farm regulatory scheme. And we're going to have somebody from USDA committed to be there. And then a couple other people on that panel discussion, representative from a staff representative from NASDA, National Association of State Departments of Agriculture, which is the national association for all the state ag commissioners out there. So he, as a staff person, can kind of speak from that perspective of what he's hearing from all different states. So we're right there in Florida. The great ag commissioner in Florida, Holly, Nikki Freed, and Holly Bell that works for. I'm sure that that'd be great to have a discussion. But we actually invited Kentucky's ag commissioner because Ryan Quarles. Not sure if actually the commissioner will be there, but likely represented by one of his staff. His chief of staff is a great old friend, Keith Rogers, or Doris, his specialist that focuses on him. But have all those three together on the panel discussion. Hopefully, a farmer friend from Texas who's growing hemp, who has some experience in DC, great guy named Russell Williams. He's going to try to be there to moderate the session. He said, if he can get away from the farm, as we all understand. So hopefully he will be there and can have that perspective as a farmer to moderate that and discuss all those things. Because, I've told some people a few times, and not that I'm trying to give a political answer or be a cop out, but things like that, as staff, like I am of an organization, is my job to do the research, to tee up the discussions. I'm not really the decision maker, though. The members of the organization, the companies out there that really have, their skin in the game, are the ones that ultimately make those decisions. So that's all about, as a staff person myself, leading up a trade association from the staff standpoint is to facilitate those discussions, get those things together. So we're going to have a great panel discussion on that. Have discussions on try to chart a path forward on those things. How you fix that, though, again, just as a staff person of kind of perspective, we could talk forever, and I won't keep rambling about it. But so I worked at USDA about 4 years ago this time for a while, and and worked on Capitol Hill as we talked about. And so something that, you guys know, something just because it seems simple and logical. I'm in Arlington, Virginia. It's almost walking distance on a good day to DC. I mean, we're right here in the DC area. I'm inside the Beltway. So logic doesn't come into play sometimes. But honestly, more than just illogical. I mean, when it comes to law, the legal situations, you got lawyers involved. When you write the law on Capitol Hill, then like at USDA, you might have OGC you have to deal with, Office of General Counsel. The lawyers might tell you kind of what the sidelines are, what you can do. And so then it comes to a point of, okay, again, like I said earlier, not just about playing political games, about actually getting something done. If it means you got to change the law, you got to go to back to Capitol Hill. But you discuss all that, see how much authority you have within the law. And sometimes there's usually flexibility. It usually, maybe I should, this is recorded, but I'm going to say it anyway. Sometimes you have to tell the lawyers, we need to get this done. You tell me how to get it done. Don't tell me I can't do it. Find the little provision in law that says we can do it. Get me the yes, right? So.
Yeah, figure it out, right?
Yeah.
So is it going to be recorded in video, so either for live or on demand later, or so if folks can't attend the event, can they still view the panels or not?
Well, good question. We're still considering that. We're still about a month out. It is not going to be offered. We're not planning at this point for it to be offered as a virtual event to attend like we're doing now. It is, live in person. Obviously, everybody has a video recorder in their pocket these days. So there could be some of that, that we don't even try to control. Some people that shoot video and share it, and that's fine. We're not sure if we're, again, just hadn't got to that point. Maybe we will try to record it and make it available later, but just not quite to that point yet to have decided on that.
I see your first agenda item, and I can pull this up if you like.
Sure.
Is international markets. Do you see the U.S. Where do you see the U.S. in 5 years when it comes to hemp? Compared to China and Canada. The big players in hemp right now.
Yeah, that's a question I'm not going to attempt to answer. The answer to that is come to our meeting and hear from the experts.
There we go.
Yeah, and again, so let me plug these experts real quick. Greg Dowd and Ted McKinney are good personal friends a long time, and more than just my personal relationship with them. It's good to have friends, but they are the experts. And very grateful to have Michael Patterson, if you see there on the agenda, moderating the session, because Michael is a real industry expert. Greg and Ted are international trade experts. They spent the last few years, I forget, I think Ted has talked about, he added up how many air miles he traveled. They're traveling around the globe. We remember just the couple years ago, this agreement with China, the phase 1, phase 2. Again, I'm not going to pretend to be the expert. These guys are. Greg Dowd did that. I mean, he negotiated that. I mean, these are the guys that were in the middle of it. So, but, they have a little bit higher perspective. Again, so glad to have Michael involved moderating that session to really kind of pull out the discussion, because Greg and Ted have kind of maybe a higher level perspective than maybe than Michael does. They were dealing with all ag commodities and all, ag and food issues. And so Michael has a lot, real good, granular understanding of the, cannabis industry, and so we're going to lead that discussion. And we're going to have again, they're going to be the ones that answer questions like that.
Okay. So a lot of people get into the hemp industry, looking at, the ecology, the environmental focus. When you look at hemp, your involvement in hemp, where do you see your hemp legacy for the future? Where do you want to see this industry go, and what's going to be your stamp on it?
Well, I guess I'd say just as we discussed earlier, I hope that we can contribute to really moving the industry forward to accomplish the potential that's there. You guys already brought up a couple of frustrating issues of, when you have to destroy some good crop, things like that. Washington shouldn't stand in the way. Washington should help the industry move forward. But too often that's not the case. Again, we're talking about USDA destroying the crop, those issues. We could talk for a while about FDA, obviously. That's always the top of mind of just a lack of clarity there of what it's doing to hold the industry back from really developing. We all are probably very aware that some of the major brands, if you mentioned earlier about some of my experience, I worked for a while for when I left Capitol Hill for Philip Morris Company, that at the time owned Kraft Foods, which was, at the time we talked about being the largest purchaser of agricultural commodities in the country. So, you want to talk about well-known iconic brands, Philip Morris is Marlboro, and Kraft cheese and, macaroni and cheese and Post cereals and DiGiorno pizza. Still talking about bringing out my talking points from like 20 years ago. But point being, those well-known brands, they have a lot of equity that they've worked really hard over decades and decades to build up that brand that they protect fiercely. So, they make conservative moves. They make careful, thoughtful moves. So getting those brands involved, not particularly those without a name, but just the big iconic brands like that in general, is going to take some clarity probably from FDA. Everybody's probably pretty aware of that. We've had a lot of discussions among the industry about that. So I guess, back to the question that, I hope that we can contribute with my and the other gentlemen involved in the organization from our experience, from our standpoint in Washington, to moving the industry forward so that people really involved doing the business. Again, as I mentioned, I grew up working on a conference. I've had plenty of dirt under my fingernails. I've done real business, but I know here in DC, it's we don't really produce anything in DC. We hope we can contribute to helping those who really produce move the business forward.
Excellent. You have any questions, Blaine?
Oh, I'm kind of looking over the itinerary there for June. Dave, can you scroll down a little bit?
Yeah.
Great things you're talking about. We've got hemp fibers we're talking about.
The textiles is really exciting. It's going to be.
And I could go into any of this, but if you want to take a look and see what you want to dive into further.
There's actually been a movement. Of course, we're in Michigan, the auto industry and all that. There's been a movement, not real aggressive yet, to have some sort of hemp composite materials in vehicles.
Absolutely.
It's pretty much the high-end vehicles right now. Hasn't really migrated down to the more, middle of the road vehicles. I suspect it would. I don't know if you guys are going to have that. Is any of that going to be part of the discussion at all? Not necessarily specific to the auto industry, but again, creating those buyers out there for hemp to do all sorts of 20,000 different things hemp could do, right?
That's exactly what we're looking at doing with the discussion. And we see some of the things on the agenda that are kind of moving the discussion in that direction, but we have had some outreach. I am aware that there's some automobile manufacturers in Michigan. I wish I had an announcement today. I don't quite yet, but there has been outreach that has occurred. And we sure hope to now have an announcement soon. We'd love to be making news today, but it takes a little while to get these commitments. And but absolutely, that type of discussion, if it's not something specific that I can announce pretty soon, which I'm hopeful, but not able to get ahead of myself, but have a couple of things in mind along those lines that hope to announce. If the one of them, the one I don't really hope is able to commit, we got a couple of things in mind. But along those lines of wanting to, is try to describe earlier about having the discussion to help the people in the business know how to move it forward. Talking to people like that are major manufacturers of that we've heard are looking at it. The people in the industry probably want to hear from a discussion like this of how are you looking at it? What are you looking at? What do you need from us? I mean, what is holding you back? You know,
it hits a lot of hot button issues. Auto industries they got CAFE standards they have to meet. One of the ways you do that is by creating a lighter vehicle, and that's basic kinds of stuff. And hemp is a lot lighter than the plastic materials they're currently using. The other hot button issue is the environment. A lot of the millennials, I mean, they're really plugged into the environment. And in Michigan, we're a big sporting area. So not millennials. I mean, older guys like me and Dave. Blaine's a young guy. So, we're sportsmen. We're out there fishing. We're using our resources. And so it's part of the, hemp's a wonderful thing to use. It really helps the environment in so many ways, a whole lot better than plastic stuff, right? That's kind of the hot button issues here for that particular thing with the auto industry.
Mm-hmm. No, absolutely. Again, we're having those conversations. We're right at about a month for the meeting, so you see a lot of a pretty full agenda already. But looking for a couple of pieces that we're having some outreach to. And I'll just go ahead and throw it out there. We still we don't want to. I think I mentioned earlier have people just. I don't know if we could anyway. If we try to have people just in all day long, if they're looking out this see the ocean over there, they might start skipping school in the afternoon. But again, anyway, we do want a full agenda. And so again, I'll throw it out there. If there's ideas people bring to us, if they have a great speaker in mind, we might be able to fit in a couple more. And so again, conversations are going on. Hope to have an announcement soon. But if that just can't commit till it happens. But somebody has great ideas, we welcome.
But so the couple topics, of course, one is the carbon credit thing. I don't know where things are going with that for you guys, if you have anybody on that particular topic. And then the other thing, of course, is using hemp and livestock feed. So two real important areas for us to move forward there. Maybe you should throw your thoughts on that, or if you got anybody going to be talking on those topics at all.
Well, so I'm sorry, livestock feed. What did you say before that?
Carbon credits.
Carbon credits, and then hemp for livestock feed.
I was on a meeting yesterday with there's a group. I'm going to probably reach out to them, Blaine, that has a really impressive back end, the market, for the carbon credits. So it's going to be interesting to see how that develops.
Yeah, so let me do it the other order. So livestock feed. Again, as we discussed earlier, there's a lot of different organizations out in this industry, doing good things, and we want to try to find ways we can work together if possible. Absolutely, teamwork makes the dream work, right? I mean, we want to work together any time we can. On the livestock feed side, particularly in my experience here in Washington, there's a couple of groups that I have good contacts with, and in the livestock sector. I'm glad to try to make connections and build alliances to get everybody to work together as much as possible. Particularly on the hemp livestock feed side, the Hemp Feed Coalition, they do great work, and you might be familiar with them. I'm glad to plug them real quick. Yeah, Hunter Buffington. Hunter and I've got to know each other and had some good conversations. And I've told her, she's in Fort Collins. I've told her, if I can ever do anything here, being local in Washington, let me know anytime. So again, we need to work together. They do such good work, and they've already been working hard to do what has to be done to submit the data to the agency, to FDA, to move that along. So great to see what they're doing there. The carbon credits, that is a discussion that has been on and off for I don't know how long in Washington, and it might come together now. And just from it should not that it should be political, but a lot of issues do get political. There might be a little more support with the current makeup of the Congress for that to come together, and it's moving forward. It's impossible for me to again, I've got enough experience to be cynical maybe in Washington, so be careful to make predictions. It might come together soon. It's hard to say. It has nothing's moving real quick lately. Not much move quick in Washington, but that's moving along. We're gonna have to see where that goes, and I think it will take a while, even if the bill does pass. Excuse me, for the system to get set up. And once a bill passes, doesn't mean everything's happening the next day. I mean, it takes a while for the agencies to get out put together the regulatory process and issue the regulations. So, but that could definitely provide some opportunities, for the hemp industry. We all know the story of the environmental benefits from hemp. So yeah, that'd be definitely one to keep watching.
So we're kind of a member-based organization. What about your organization? I mean, can people come and join members and do that kind of thing? How does that work with your organization?
Absolutely. Similar to you, we are a member-based organization. We're just getting started. And this meeting, will be some discussions of how to form the organization. We've already had some informal discussions with some of the companies that are, again, we dubbed the organization Leaders Coalition. And that's what we're looking for, is the real leaders that can move the industry forward. And, a little early to really preview a lot of that. Those discussions are occurring. And so now with this meeting, we're so busy focusing on that to get this thing with the clock ticking, get it all together, that we think that'll provide a good forum for people. This meeting is open to the public. Anybody, there's some, of course, some cost with the meeting room space rental and some of those things. So we have a registration fee that we have to charge that is on our website, and totally transparent there. It's open to the public as the organization is formed. Future meetings might or might not be open. Some meetings might be open. We might have, this is all, I don't have a crystal ball to predict the future and see how this comes together. But some meetings might be members only, focusing on policy, and as we put together our board of directors and some things like that. But we're early in the stages of putting that all together.
Do you see regional meetings instead of having one big national meeting, for instance, more of a Midwest meeting and a West Coast meeting, South meeting, that sort of thing? Yeah,
again, just already to say on that, possible to predict, and I don't want to try to get ahead of myself. Again, there already are some regional organizations that are doing some good work in the Midwest Hemp Council. Jamie Campbell Petty there, not too far from you guys, and there's a Southwest Hemp Association in North Carolina that has a few states involved, and we're glad to have conversations with those guys. And don't want to duplicate efforts if we can work together on things. And so I don't know if that means, again, I'm glad to mention those because there's good people doing good stuff. I don't want to get ahead of myself to saying we're going to form alliances. We'll glad to have conversations, see where it goes. But there's, as we talked about, this industry is still under development. There's so much that we're still trying to figure out as we go along. We're all learning together, right?
What sort of a learning curve do you have with Congress? I know there's certain senators like Rand Paul who's very hemp friendly. Mm-hmm. However, I mean, a lot of these are big city guys or women, and they may or may not know much about hemp. Is that a real challenge for you right now?
Well, it always is. Forget hemp for a second. I mean, it's a challenge educating Congress in general, and that's okay. I mean, we all might have our different views on politics, and we have the right in this country to criticize our politicians. That's all part of it. But again, and I'll be careful to defend them too much, but maybe a little bit. I mean, again, since I worked there several years. And, you have 1,000 things thrown at you every day. I mean, back in the mid-90s when I was there, I think we just got email the last couple of years I was there. So I used to have a stack of papers on my desk because, we did things more by paper. So point being, you have a lot thrown at you. And it's hard to be experts in everything. But that is the role. I mean, lobbyists sometimes, get a dirty feel like a dirty word, you get a dirty reputation, and some of it's deserved. I mean, like anything, there's good and bad people, but a lot of it is they represent people out there in the country who are involved in an industry or an advocacy group for a particular issue that aren't able to come to Washington every day and understand the best way to get a meeting and get into the office and get the ear of the member of Congress. That's what lobbyists do, is provide that legitimate function for the education process. And so, but yeah, hemp is a little tougher than the general issue because, like we said, it's new and different, and it's the same plant as marijuana. All those, we have a little extra challenges just because of the unique nature of it. Sure. Yeah.
Speaking of that, we had Mike had a show on yesterday where we were talking about Delta 8. Do you want to weigh in on that conversation? No.
There's a real hot potato, I'll tell you that. You know?
Let's talk about this, Richard.
We had the president of iHemp on, and he put his point of view forward, but we had a little debate format.
No, next question. No.
We have legislation moving forward in Michigan to take Delta 8 and put it under the purview of the Michigan Marijuana Regulatory Agency, which is highly regulated and then licensed and tested and all that jazz. And so there's some resistance on the part of the CBD hemp folks, some of them, because they're selling it everywhere. We have one of our members that we're working with. He's selling retail like almost 2,000 locations, and a lot of it is Delta 8. And but he was on the show and he was saying he was kind of preparing for it. He sees the handwriting on the wall, but anyway, it's a real hot button issue. So.
No, of course it absolutely is, and of course I'm half sarcastic saying no, I don't want to, but I will be a little careful in my comments because I'll go back to the fact that I'm inside the Beltway. I give political answers. No, I mean I'm from Texas, so I'm going to shoot straight with you. But honestly, again, as I said earlier, I'll repeat. I mean, I'm the staff guy of an organization. I don't make the decisions, but we all can see the debate that's going on out there among the industry, and it's at a split. And there's probably legitimate points on both sides. And again, with this industry being where it is, kind of at a fragile point, and we just talked to the previous question about the need for education. I mean, it's not easy issues to sort through. And so again, I'll just kind of, you all could repeat just like I could, just kind of throw out both sides of it of with it being kind of at a fragile point of the industry. And challenges with education and so forth, Delta 8. I've heard people say has some good benefits, and kind of a little bit lighter THC, and we focus on hemp. We don't focus on marijuana. THC that's not in what we try to focus on. Plenty of other groups doing that, so we let them take the lead on that. But the other concern on the other side is, if it's not well regulated, then is there a possibility for some bad effects that could have a hit on the reputation of hemp? So a lot to sort through there.
Yeah, one of the comments made was, since it's so problematic making money with hemp right now, at least with Delta 8, you have an outlet then that you can make money, and if you cut that off, it just makes it tougher on the hemp farmer.
Absolutely.
I know Dave doesn't necessarily agree with that, but I'm not stating my opinion.
I
I'm just saying
that. I'm just,
I
think it, it just makes it harder to make our case when we're promoting an intoxicant.
Yeah, well, they call it marijuana light, so.
So again, I think we could disagree and debate it among ourselves. I mean, I remember my boss, a member of Congress, we represented, and we say I worked for him, so we worked, together. But agriculture was our biggest industry in West Texas, and I focused on agriculture issues. He was on the ag committee, and I moved to ag committee staff. So I focus on the ag issues. And again, as I said, I've had dirty amount of under my fingernails. I worked on farms growing up. Excuse me. So I kind of understand, some of these ag policy debates. But I remember one of the things he said is, you get 4 farmers in the room, you could probably get eight opinions. I mean, there's a lot to debate about that. And not everybody didn't have all the answers because it's all still developing. So plenty to sort out as we go forward.
Yeah, I think that's what everybody forgets is it's a nascent industry. I mean, even in the marijuana space, we've only got 18 states where it's legal and about 40 some odd where it's medical marijuana. But even then, that's only been the last few years. And the Farm Bill was just 2018. I mean, it's a lot of uncharted territory everybody's moving into here.
Yeah, moving at more speed. I mean, again, it's kind of amazing to think back that in the last 2 years, how much has happened. I mean, then you throw in a pandemic that screws everybody's marketing plans and they have to adjust, some of that's, living in interesting times, right?
Speaking of intoxicants, Russell, you're from Houston, Texas. Do you know Michael Williams?
I'm not
Highway
sure offhand.
vodka?
Highway
Well,
vodka.
okay, sure. I've heard of the highway vodka, and
Highway-
Houston's only about 10 hours away from where I'm from in Texas. So it's kind of neighbors. So, yeah. But no, I have heard of the highway vodka, and I'm looking forward to trying that. I hadn't tried it yet. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, Texas, it looked like there's some big development going on in Texas. Any updates on, is the oil industry going to jump in and throw their capital behind it?
No, they already have. I mean, it's not, are they going to? Yeah. So there's some companies, one particular out of Dallas that I don't really want to name by name to put them on the spot, but there is some investment from that industry already coming in. One particular I can think of. There's probably others I've forgotten or don't even know of. But like we talked about earlier, I mentioned some of my experience with Philip Morris and Kraft and some of those iconic brands. The companies, the industries that have good experience. That the petroleum industry is not a simple industry. I mean, the people, the hardworking, sharp business people that are involved in that, they're getting in this industry already, but they're doing it right. They're doing it careful. They're doing their due diligence. I mean, and that's going to continue. I would have to guess. Again, I don't have a crystal ball, but in Texas, I'm not going to try to go through a whole list. I mean, in my hometown, again, I mentioned, only 10 hours from Texas, 10 hours from Houston is Lubbock, is where I'm from. Right there, when I was home back during Christmas, visited a processing plant right outside Lubbock. People, doing good stuff, and just generally in Texas, again, as a proud Texan, even though I've been in DC area, Virginia a long time, I'll always remain a proud Texan and say, I mean, Texans, we got an ego. We do it big. We do it right. So.
Yeah. It's going to be interesting to see as and as we were discussing earlier, we need this regulation to be ironed out, and I'm hoping that happens sooner rather than later.
Yeah, we all do. But don't hold your breath. But we have to keep working on it, and we will. And it's things move slow in DC too often, and that is kind of part of the process. That doesn't mean you just take it for granted. I mean, that's one thing I think that we bring to the table with our experience is knowing when to, as frustrating as it might be sometimes, knowing when you just got to have a little more patience, and knowing when, no, it is time to get it done now, darn it. Throw rocks, throw bombs, throw Molotov cocktails. We have to, when to scream, when to have patience. That all comes with experience. And so again, we're going to do our best to guide this pathway forward for the industry. But it's nobody should be naive and expect it to be simple or hopefully, like you said, sooner rather than later. But,
yeah. Cool. So, people want to connect with you and learn more about your event. You want to
please
share that information?
Absolutely. Please. Again, Hemp, fairly simple website, hempleaders.org, and it has a little bit of brief description about, my experience and other team members and what we have in mind with the organization we're working on putting together. But particularly has the agenda for our meeting coming up just a little under a month now, June 24th and 25th in Fort Lauderdale, because why not? On the beach, a great location, great to be. And so, we welcome people to come early and stay late. The most of the business discussions are a day and a half, the Thursday, Friday, 24th, 25th. If once the business is over at noon, hopefully get the airport, get a flight back so you can be at 7:00 at the, what was it, the Michigan that night, so Friday the 25th at the Honeysuckle Saloon or something?
At the Crazy Horse Saloon.
Crazy Horse
Saloon.
Yeah.
Close.
So so I was taking note of that. Like, there's so many meetings they're going to conflict sometimes, but yeah, you can as soon as you're noon, get to the airport, get back to Michigan for the Crazy Horse Saloon that night.
Yeah, we have that. And speaking of that, we have that Hempcrete workshop. I'm just going to share that real quick. This we're working on this flyer for the event. We're going to start promoting it, but that's Saturday, June 26th at the Critter Barn. You want to talk about this, Blaine?
Yeah, Critter Barn. What they're doing is they're moving from the Critter Barn, and the best way to describe this is a educational farm that they have. They've done this for years. They have over 100,000 people that visit throughout the year on this thing, and they do workshops with schools and school children. And so there's two really locations. They're moving to, I call it a new critter farm, because the critter barn is where they have the animals now. And it's basically the city has kind of grown up around them. And it's a very, very tight place. Sometimes when they get all the cars, people got to cross the road. So anyway, so that's what's going on there. And so we're going to be having it at the critter farm. And we're going to be having the hempcrete workshop. We're going to do that. We've got Rachel Berry's going to be talking there. Roman is going to be talking there. And and also where they're going to be doing a little fun event. And again, this is all geared a lot towards the kids. We're going to be making what we call hemp candle holders out of hempcrete. And then they're also going to be doing a tile project where they're going to be having the kids make some tiles. And those tiles are going to go up around in the bathrooms and some other places around there. We're planning on sponsoring and hosting, building one of the educational stations outside with as much hemp product as we can. And we'll probably have something inside the building as well. Beautiful barn they're building. Amish are putting it up. We're probably going to have a lot of that hemp wood in there. In the reception area somewhere is our plan for that, but that's kind of down the road. But just come out, enjoy the day. It's going to be a lot of fun. Certainly very, very kid oriented for sure on that situation. Again, the night before the 25th is the hemp workshop. We call it hemp working instead of networking. So we're looking for a great time. We're going to be doing one of these events every month. We're planning a great poker run for maybe in July or August time.
Hemp run.
Yeah, that's going to be a lot of fun to do that too.
Hemp
So
run.
Yeah.
hemp run instead of poker run, a hemp run. Mm-hmm.
So real quick, if I could, while we're throwing in fun events, so that, again, it's hard to schedule all these things, but hopefully people, if they can make it part of our meeting, get back there. I guess, as I said a few times, I like getting my hands dirty. I think that's how you learn. I do. So great that you're hosting this for kids to see that up close. So we have not quite made formal announcements yet, but I'll go ahead and step out a little bit. So another way to have fun things, we're going to have great business discussions all day, but have a little fun too, fun way to learn things. We are putting the final touches to a fashion show Thursday night of our meeting right there in Fort Lauderdale, outside overlooking the ocean, with some beautiful models. My wife and daughter might get hired among them, but highlighting hemp apparel. And, we all know that's there, but what a fun way to see it up front in a fun fashion show. So we're putting that together.
Very cool.
Speaking of hemp apparel, Dave, didn't you say during World War II the Army fatigues were made out of hemp?
Yeah, well, actually, if we can go down that rabbit hole real quick, but I know we haven't talked to Gary Schuler in a long time, but Gary talked to the Royal Canadian Army and the U.S. military. They're both interested in hemp textiles, hemp clothing, because if you get a wound in cotton, you're a cotton guy, you're going to get an infection. With hemp textiles, hemp is naturally antibiotic. You're not going to get that same infection. So it's a lot healthier garment for our men and women in uniform. So we need hemp textiles.
That would be a big customer, huh?
Oh
Wow.
yeah, it's happening. It's just we just need those. We need those resources, the right connections, and the right regulation, and we can make this thing happen. The Safe Banking Act. I mean, is that going to pass? I mean, come on. We need help.
Well, we do, and it kind of, again, I'll try to keep this brief because I know we need to wrap up pretty soon. So that is kind of wrapped up, I think, into the discussions with the larger. I think they call it MORE Act, Marijuana Opportunity. I can't remember, but the legalization for marijuana.
Descheduling, not so much legalization, but move it from Schedule 1.
Exactly. Again, I'm trying to make this real brief to wrap things up. So, and you could debate, how much that. I mean, we need help in banking. Absolutely, we all understand that. But how much difference is that going to make? And again, I'm not going to make a judgment because I'm still figuring this out as we go. But the federal banking regulators, and I used to work for a finance company, so I've got a little bit of understanding of this, and I'm not going to claim I'm an expert, but they put out guidance a while back that made it pretty clear that the banks are not, and this is their government regulator telling them that you can do business with the hemp industry. It is legal at 2018 Farm Bill made it legal, and
Yet they
the
won't.
regulator's saying, okay, so then let's say the bill passes. I mean, the bill doesn't really force them to. I mean,
Yeah.
I've been with Bank of America myself personally, and I had another business I mentioned in the cotton industry. I lost count how many years. You know, guess what? When I set up this new organization, you think that Bank of America did my banking? Nope. They rejected me. What am I doing now? Going with Westtown Bank, and you might have heard of them. And so appreciate they're doing, you know, taking us on, and they're doing a lot of good business in the hemp industry. But again, that's a marketplace solution. I mean, Westtown Bank doesn't have to do it. They made a business decision to do it.
You know, and if you open an account with Westtown Bank next month, you're going to get a free hemp frisbee with the
Whoa.
Westtown Bank logo on it.
I should
How
have waited.
cool is that?
I know you went too quickly there, Russell.
Yeah,
so.
yeah.
Yeah, you could have gotten a free hemp frisbee. Well,
We kind of got to pay the
we could
bills of
probably
this
work
meeting. We
something
kind of need
Yeah.
a banking setup for that. Yeah.
yeah, so yeah, they're great partners. Blaine, Russell, we're going to get to the really exciting part of the show now. We've got a recipe to share. Blaine might have a little bit of news, and then we're going to do a hemp recipe. So we really appreciate your time today. It's been
Yeah,
good.
Russell, we want to invite, we want to make sure you're invited to the expos coming up in January. We're going to talk about that in just a second. So just a couple
Thank
things.
you,
on the
thank you very
news,
much. Yeah, thank you.
Then we'll get into the recipe because it's a holiday weekend and everybody's going to want to do some grilling and cooking. So
Yeah.
a couple things. Want to remind everybody that the hemp database is still open if you want to become part of that and submit your samples in for that. Research is going on. Really helps everybody as we can find the genetics that we need to have, not only for the CBD, but also for the grain and fiber as well. So if you're growing grain and fiber, you still want to become part of that. We hope you do that. Also, I want to remind you that Hemp at the Crossroads, they're planning that for December 1st and 3rd in Plainfield, Indiana. There'll be more information coming on that, but that's going forward, and that's going to be a face-to-face. Also, Becky and I are going to get the opportunity and chance to do some traveling that we haven't had to in 4 years. We haven't really taken a trip, so we're going out to Denver for the iHemp, for the US Hemp Roundtable meeting. So we're looking forward to making some connection with some good friends out there and be able to support and put iHemp Michigan front and forward out there with that group as well. So looking forward for that. But the big news we have is that we have signed the contract, so we are moving forward. It looks like the state of Michigan, of course, will be pretty much open hopefully by then, and the COVID will be behind us. But we are going to have our Midwest iHemp Expo in Lansing at the Lansing Center, January 21st and 22nd. We've also made a great deal with the Radisson Hotel for rooms, so that'll be available. And Friday night, we're going to have a party and we're going to have the Hempies. So it'll be the second annual Hempie Award. So if you're growing hemp, we're going to
win yourself a cool hemp bowl. Trophy.
Yeah, well, we may have something different for that in this next year. So we'll see. Maybe a surprise there. So, but again, if you're making some hemp products and you want to have, you want to enter that, we'll have information on that. We'll have a photo contest going on. So a lot of great things. And that's going to be Friday night. So you'll definitely want to come, spend the night, stay at the hotel, and just be part of that fun that we haven't been able to do in quite a while. So we look forward to those.
Yeah,
but with that
Russell,
being
just
said,
so you know, the hotel's connected to the convention center, so you don't have to go outside at all. So it makes a captive audience. We have a ton of networking, usually at the bar at the hotel.
so we
Good
can
to know. So that's the time of year you want to stay inside versus our meeting in Fort Lauderdale where you want to be
Yes.
outside, right?
Yep.
Correct.
Yeah, Michigan in January. That's quite an
Everybody wants to be in
experience, you
Michigan in
know.
January.
So
we can guarantee you no snow and at least probably in the high 60-degree temperatures inside the hotel and inside the convention center. So,
but outside, not so much, you know. So
outside, you never know about Michigan. Sure, we had that ice storm, so that was kind of interesting. So, but again, we want to have everybody have a safe and wonderful holiday weekend this weekend. Enjoy your time with friends and family. So this is from Lady Jane. I got this from her cookbook she has. This is a gluten-free barbecue pork steaks.
ooh.
So yeah, so didn't that sound wonderful? You want about 4 steaks, cut about a ½ inch thick, half a cup of Lady Jane hemp flour or hempanizer, half a cup of white rice flour, 4 teas of thyme, half a tea of ground coriander, a half a tea of cumin, a half a tea of dried mustard, 1 tablespoon of flour, hemp or rice, 2/3 cup of ketchup, 3 tablespoons of brown sugar, 1 cup of vinegar. Preheat the oven to 350. You combine the flour, the rice, all the other goody stuff into a bowl, and you set that aside. You pour 2 tablespoons of melted butter in a medium glass bowl, and you mix the following ingredients, and you set that all aside. So you mix the ingredients of the mustard and the flour, the ketchup, the sugar, and the vinegar. You raise the pork and let them drip a little bit, and you place each steak in the flour and the sauce mix. You place each flour-coated steak into a medium hot pan with oil on it and brown, only turning once. Of course, you want to use the Hemperor's hemp seed oil for that for sure. Put the brown steak into a glass baking dish and top with sauce mix. Bake for 20 to 30 minutes and let stand for a few minutes and serve them when they're warm. So that
Sounds yummy.
Yay.
What's that?
Sounds yummy.
It is, isn't it? We're gonna try that this weekend. So for sure.
Our show next week, we have the godfather of hemp. I'll bet you know this guy, Russell, Joe Hickey.
Yes. I don't think we've personally met, but I think I've heard of him. Yeah.
Yeah, so we're looking forward to visiting with him. He's chairman of Halcyon. Was integral, back in the 90s in making hemp happen. So we're real excited to talk to him. That'll be our show next week.
Well, after that recipe, I'm ready for lunch.
Yeah. Just fly up. He'll pick you up at the Grand Rapids Airport or something. You'll be all set, right? So.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I'm going to see Dave and Blaine in the flesh tomorrow
Yes,
at the big Sensi Magazine golf outing. That'll be fun.
I'll bring some Frisbees.
There you go. Because we got time to kill while those golfers are out on the course, right,
Yeah.
Dave? So we can play. We'll do some shooters and throw some Frisbees. It'll be a wonderful time. So
Sounds great. All right. Well, great show, guys. Thanks.
all right.
you very
Thank
much.
you all. Talk
See
to you
you
later.
next week.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Safe holidays.
Russell.